I would like to call the, I'd like to call the Village of Cambridge Board of Trustees meeting for July 22nd to order. Roll call, please.
Schultz.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Blackwood.
Here.
Hollenbeck.
Here.
Drendel.
Here.
Krecklow.
Here.
Chris is not here today. I'm running it as pro tem. So, all right, Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Proof of posting.
The agenda was posted in the upper and lower levels of the Amundsen Center, the post office, Badger Bank, and the website.
I would like to make a motion to have just one public comment at the beginning of this meeting for this meeting today.
Okay.
Why is that?
I'm sorry, did you second?
I said, why is that?
Well,
Oh,
we
sorry.
can't-
I will second,
Okay.
and then we'll discuss.
I just, because we do have a closed session afterwards, and if there are things people want to talk to the board about afterwards, there are certain things on here that we aren't making decisions on today. And so we have lots of time to get input from people if they want to talk to us after the meeting, if they want to talk us into the 2 weeks before the next meeting. There's lots of opportunities for constituents to be able to voice how they're feeling with the board.
I very much disagree with that. We have a very good turnout tonight. There have been 2 public comments for a while now, and I think that's a disservice to our constituents when they've showed up and given their time tonight.
Okay. All right, so we've got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no.
No.
All right, motion carried. Or motion not carried. All
Motion
right,
fails.
great. Okay, so public comment, first public comment. Who has a public comment that they'd like to bring up? I do. All right, you will be limited to 3 minutes. So who wants to go first?
Yeah, me or?
Doesn't matter to me, you guys talk among yourselves. Yeah, please state your name and your address.
Hi, I am Kathy Yergis. My address is 618 Woodhaven Court. Tonight I'm here representing Collaborative 523. We had a gathering last week. I want to thank Sarah and Brian for attending, and I just wanted to give the rest of you an update as to what we have been working on. Most of you know that I host a bi-weekly Wake Up Wednesdays at the Cambridge Market where local business owners can connect, and we continue to do so. In 2024, we helped Christiane and at that time Tammy Jordan from the Village reestablish our Connect Communities application through WEDC. We also have started a now hiring in Cambridge post on our website as well as on social media to help local business owners get the staffing that they need. In 2024 and 25, we ran Make Music Day in Cambridge, another avenue to form collaborations with individuals and businesses. We have a new mural at Camrock Trail, which was individual as well as government and business support that came together for that project. Last December, we ran Holiday Headquarters, where we represented over 100 Wisconsin makers and brands to bring some life into the downtown Cambridge area. Following that, we helped run Renew Towns with UW-Whitewater through the Cambridge Storefront competition, which resulted in 2 new businesses in town, Cambridge & Co. Confectionery and Mustard Seed Books. Along with that, we researched funding sources and wrote for grants to continue our work. I'm happy to announce that we have just been awarded a grant from WEDC, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, for an entrepreneurial partnership grant in the amount of $182,000, which will be a matching grant for us to continue our work. This will include a Cambridge Storefront competition in 2026, a series of comprehensive business workshops, scholarships and mentoring opportunities to address industry and business-specific needs in our area, and establishing revolving loan fund to help our small businesses succeed in our area. Along with this, we will be able to expand the capacity of our staff to create, promote, and facilitate these programs. I encourage the village to work with us. I have offered to help write a Vibrant Spaces grant. You are talking about LBK Park tonight. You are talking about pickleball courts tonight. We can help you write that grant so you can replace the missing funds in our budget. Thank you.
All right. Great. And who's next? Again, please state your name and your address.
Kenny Johnson, 315 Merchant Street, Cambridge. I'm here because I would like to discuss with you the construction of pickleball courts and the opportunity or ability to have pickleball courts in the village of Cambridge. There's a group of us who play pickleball, and we have no facilities in Cambridge or at Community Park to play pickleball, and I would like to see courts constructed in the village of Cambridge if that's a possibility. We looked at the park, LBK Park, and when I stopped in the office of the administrator, she said that there were funds available for that development that could include possibly a pickleball court or several pickleball courts. And what I think we would like to discuss is the construction of 4 pickleball courts in the park, provided that they fit in with the plan for the park. Now I see that there's a plan to put child, whatever they call those
Playground.
things for the kids, same thing as you have in the park by the river, so that it's a child play area, that type of thing. And I also heard that you were talking about building basketball courts there. There are basketball courts out at the community park, and there are tennis courts out at the community park. The tennis courts at the community park have been converted to pickleball courts, but they are not official pickleball courts. So being unofficial pickleball courts means that they're not really very good for pickleball. So we'd like to see pickleball courts located someplace in Cambridge, either in LBK Park or some other place where you might have the availability of land. We're looking first for the site in which to build the pickleball courts. The next thing that we have then is the financing. The LBK, if there is money there, we'd ask that some of that be allocated to pickleball courts, but we've also offered to have fundraising in conjunction with that effort in order to be able to construct the pickleball courts. None of that is specific. We do have one pledge for funds, but it hasn't gone very far because we do not have the site or the plan to go forward on the site. The next thing that I would say,
All right,
go ahead.
time is up. If you just want to finish up your sentence.
The next thing is the advantage for businesses, because pickleball brings money into the area as opposed to having kids play. We'd have adults play, meals, etc., the things that go on where adults come into town and buy food. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, next.
Good evening. Roy Marsden, 813 Bluebird Pass, I think that's what it's called, Cambridge. So I was driving through town today, and I couldn't help but notice the beautiful flower baskets and planters along Main Street. And I just think you and all the people who donated to those and the village crews who have been doing such a great job of keeping them up really deserve kudos. it makes a wonderful impression for anybody driving through town. There's not many small towns that have that kind of appearance just driving through. So, I mean, kudos. I think it was I know there was a small investment and some donations, but I think it was well worth the effort. So, thanks.
That was paid for by the Cambridge Foundation this year.
Well, let's keep it up.
Yes, yes. And again, put up, or made by Avid Gardner here in town.
Thank you, Christiane.
Mhm.
I play pickleball too. I was out at the park this afternoon with some mature players, and both courts were used the entire time we were there by pickleball players. The other groups were all probably high school age players. So it's a sport that can be played by all ages. It does bring a lot of people to town. There's a lot of people in the greater Cambridge area that play pickleball, and I would love to see something happen. You know, it has to be in the right place and with the right facilities and the right support, you know, for the pickleball courts, but I think it's a great idea.
All right, thank you. All right, does anybody else have public comments? All right, then we will move on to item 5 on the agenda, approval of consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion from trustee Blackwood and a second from trustee Kirklaw for approving the consent agenda. Any discussion? I read through them and I thought they all look good.
Okay, and one thing that's a little different is there are operator licenses in there
Yeah,
and the street permits. Normally, it was put as an agenda item, but technically, unless there's a big issue, it should normally go on the consent agenda, just to let you guys know. So that's why I did that.
Great.
Perfect.
Board of Review had quite a few things actually on that. So.
Yeah, yeah. We've got an agenda under reports. I'll talk about that under reports.
Great.
So. All right. All right. So I've got a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. All right. Motion carries. All right. Reports. Personnel Committee.
We had 2 meetings, one that I didn't attend because it was a joint meeting with Public Works. Kristen and I worked through the treasurer interviews in the first one, and then working with Lucy, we decided to sum up where am I drawing a blank? The employee handbook because we were missing a member, so we just did 2. So pretty short meeting with that one, but we did make that approval to go ahead and do the Public Works Committee, and it sounded like that went all right. I don't want to speak to that because I wasn't here for that.
Yeah.
So.
I thought,
And it was the clerk deputy treasurer position.
Correct.
Yes.
what did we say?
I think he said treasurer, unless I missed.
No treasurer.
Misspoke.
Clerk. Yes. Yes. So are we discussing those recommendations farther down the road?
Yep.
Or okay.
Closed session.
In
Okay.
closed session.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. All right. So that was Personnel Committee. All right. Plan Commission report.
We had our meeting on the 8th. Correct. Let me just make sure I get the minutes up here. The notes we went through, we were handed the, Lucy had put together a really great packet for us, which was like an orientation. We went over the comp plan. We went into closed session to discuss the, sorry, did not go into closed session. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the wrong report here. Went over the employee handbook. We discussed for quite a while the timesheet area with the employees with the Public Works Department. So,
But we're talking about Plan Commission.
am I in the wrong one?
Yep.
Yep.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry about that. Yeah,
all right.
that was the other.
You're the chair of everything tonight, so
All right, sorry about that. So we went over the, we had a public comment, but it really should have been directed as filling out a form that we put in for the new real estate rezoning when it has to go to comp plan. So, So we listened to that, but we also said that they need to go through the form for that. We went over our orientation packet, bylaws, mission statement, and so that was basically what we did in that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Plan Commission. All right, Board of Review. I'm the chair of the Board of Review, so that item was, we met by statutory. We were required to meet for at least 2 hours, so we met 2 hours. We reviewed it, met the new assessor, and then we did have someone come in who did have an issue with how they were appraised. We did recognize that there was a miscalculation because it was appraised with, it was one of the new constructions out in Scott, and it was not appraised, assessed. It was assessed with a finished lower basement, and he did not have a finished lower basement. And so through that, we were able to reduce it. One thing that's really, really important to say is if you disagree with the assessment, or the assessment that you're given, go to the open book. Because don't wait for Board of Review, because technically we could have chosen not to hear his case during the Board of Review meeting. So if anybody has any issues with their assessment each year, they should bring it to the attention of village staff. Village staff can put you in contact with the assessor during that open book time frame.
Open.
Open book.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
All right, so that was it for really Board of Review. And all of the stuff that's in there is required by like statute. So it looks like we have a lot of stuff, but most of the times we just meet for 2 hours, and if we don't, then we just have to be here. So, all right. Water and Sewer Committee, again, I'm chair of that as well. I mean, you saw in our meeting minutes what we had with water and sewer. I think probably the biggest thing from a water and sewer perspective is we're still looking at regionalization with Rockdale, and I think Rockdale is postponing that until 2026. But we've got some intergovernmental agreement to work out with them. We're still trying to figure out which lines we want to do sewer lining on for this year. We're working with Ehlers to get our budget updated, which we should have by September, and have all completed by September. And then we're looking at getting a bulk water dispensing station because the solar does come and get a lot of bulk water from the Village of Cambridge, and the dispensing station would make that be a much better process for both Koshkonong Solar and us. And so we did ask Lucy as our administrator to reach out to Koshkonong to see if they would be willing to assist us with some of the costs related to installing a bulk water dispensing station. We'll see what happens with that. And I really think that's about it for highlights from water and sewer. All right, any questions on any of the reports? All right, we'll move on to item number 7, approval of bills, discussion and possible action.
All right, the first run of bills was in the amount of $36,327.40. Second run was in the amount of $33,624.21 for a total of $69,951.61.
Right.
And to any motion?
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $69,951.61.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so Trustee Blackwood made the motion to pay the bills. Trustee Jacobson seconded it. Discussion.
On the second run, that grant was on there, correct?
Yes, it was, and we've already received the money.
Okay.
That was the first half of the money received. So that was the
So it's a
first half payment.
Pass through on that.
Yep,
Okay.
that's just a pass-through.
I had a question on MSA,
Mm-hmm.
which was in the second run.
Mm-hmm.
So well number 3, it looked like it's the final billing because everything is 100% done. So we
Mhm.
should not expect any more bills related to well number 3 from MSA.
We do have one more coming in.
Okay.
It's not to MSA though. Actually, it's going to be to help me out. Who's doing the work? City.
Yep. I know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
Yep.
And that will go to water sewer.
Okay. And that'll go to water sewer.
So-
Okay. Then the PQ, one of the other bills that was on there,
Yes.
PQ, 37.17% complete. And have we, are we getting reports as to what that money, I mean, like,
It is all the preliminary work for the bridge.
well, which is what?
The, because I did reach out to them the first time we got one of these bills because I was not familiar with
Yeah.
it and needed help coding. So they have to do all of this preliminary work with engineering to go for the bridge project next year. And I can get you more details on that as well.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable paying that bill
Mm-hmm.
until we get more of those details. Because
Okay.
I don't think they've even given us a report on anything they've done on PQ and on the bridge project. And I feel like we should know what they're doing,
Sure,
particularly if they're 37.17% complete.
gotcha.
The other thing is, I know I have asked this before,
Mm-hmm.
but has MSA talked to them about Firefest for 2026 and having at least the ability to walk over that bridge during that second weekend in June?
That is not something that I have not, that's not been brought to my attention, but I can absolutely reach out to them regarding that.
Because I had asked Lisa to talk to them about it multiple times.
Mhm.
So, I mean, Firefest brings a lot into the village, and if people can't cross that bridge, they're going to have to go like a whole, and that's going to impact our whole downtown, which I think, Kathy, you'll agree, it's a really good weekend for business people, and having that accessibility by being able to at least walk over that bridge area would be really important.
And I will check into that, but I'm not even sure if MSA has any pull when it comes to that because that is a state project or a county project?
County project.
County project.
And I understand that, but if we don't tell them,
Yes.
then we have to at least let them know of our concerns.
Absolutely, that I can do.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so,
So do you want to amend, are you saying you want to amend the amount of the bills then? Because you said something about not paying.
yeah, I would like to, I'd like to make a motion to remove from this bill run the bill for MSA specifically for PQ.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that one? All right, all in favor to remove that MSA bill from the bill run, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. All right, so that one carries. All right, so then we get to the
Actual bill run?
actual bill run, which do I need to get a dollar amount for you?
Yep, give
Yep.
me just a second and I'll get it.
Oh, okay. It's I've got the,
So then I have 64,689.11.
Yep.
Anybody else double check my math, please?
yep, that's right.
Okay.
So I will amend my motion to pay the bills in the amount of $64,689.11.
I'll second. So trustee Blackwood made a motion, or amended her motion for the $64,689. Trustee Hollenbeck seconded it. All right, roll call, please.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Krecklow,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes,
Trendle,
Yes.
Blackwood,
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
all right, motion carried. All right, this brings us then into new business. And for our first item for new business, we have Bauman and Associates for our audit presentation. You want to come up and introduce yourself?
Sure. Sit, stand, we have a preference?
You can sit, that's fine.
Okay. I'm Eric Davidson, and I'm a principal with Bauman Associates, and we wrapped up our third year performing the audit of Cambridge. Now, you'll see these statements here are preliminary draft, but that is really, can you hear me, Lucy?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
gonna go over here and
So these are preliminary draft, but that's really just kind of some technical things wrapping up the audit from a review standpoint internal. Do not anticipate these numbers to change. If they were to do so, I would let Lucy know and she could pass that on. So just get that out of the way. I have over 30 years of experience auditing municipalities and other entities with our firm. So I've done this a time or two. The audit report is about 57 pages, so I'm not going to go through everything. I don't think anyone benefits from that. I had previously gone over preliminary reports with members of the Finance Committee. I think that was 2 weeks ago from tomorrow. I think it was whatever Wednesday that is. So there have been some preliminary discussions with people who were in on that meeting. Let me kind of go to the executive summary.
Can you just let me know what page?
Sure. I guess if you want to flip to the first couple pages of the report.
I think you have to scroll up.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Before it was just touch.
I guess I'll cut right to the chase. So our report is the first 3 pages. So
Okay, this.
our opinions, because governmental units report on opinion units. So our opinion is clean. It's going to be an unmodified opinion. So first off, it will be a clean opinion on the financial statements for the village. Just a quick overview of the statements. There's a lot here. There's 2 statements on pages 4 and 5, which are on the full accrual basis. And those include the governmental activities, which are things like your general fund, your debt service fund, your capital projects fund, your library fund. And then there are things called business type activities, which are the utilities, the water and sewer funds. So they split those out. Those are all presented on one statement. That is meant to be a comprehensive financial picture of the entire operations of the village on the accrual basis. Okay?
You can't see any of that, but
Lucy, can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
Can you
maybe
increase
is
the
there a
size?
handout
No.
to look at?
We'll make it available on the village website.
Okay. Can anybody see it? I can't see it. Okay.
Okay.
If you push those 3 lines on the top there, I think you can go to full screen. Isn't there a full screen? Maybe
Oh,
not.
you don't have it either.
I would just zoom it up.
Can you bring it this way maybe, closer to us?
Yeah, I can absolutely do that.
I don't know.
So anyways,
You're out of cord, Lucy. You're about to unplug. That's about as best we can do.
so these are the full accrual statements. They include things like the historical inventory of the village's capital assets. And within governmental activities, those are things like infrastructure, roads, streets that were inventoried starting in 2004 when this presentation was required. It also includes things like the long-term debt, which is normally not something that's budgeted for in that fund. And the other thing that's on here is the village's investment or share of the net pension liability associated with its involvement in the WRS. And that's pursuant to GASB 68. So that's nothing new. So those are full accrual adjustments. That's page 4, which is really a statement of net position. And that's assets, liabilities, governmental accounting standards have things called deferred outflows and deferred inflows, which are almost like subsets of assets and liabilities. And then your net position, that's really kind of like the equity. So that's that statement. Page 5, which is probably going to need to be flipped over, of course. So that is a statement of activities, and that is meant to present kind of again, a comprehensive picture of the village. And that includes things like depreciation, interest expense, some of the other adjustments are on there as compared to what you're used to seeing for budget, like the general fund. And that comes down to a bottom line number of change in net position. And again, it's full accrual. The change in net position is positive for the governmental activities. It's negative for the business type activities, which that is further detailed in the business activities fund statements, which are further on down here. So again, bear with me. There is a lot to a governmental set of financial statements that I'm trying to distill down without having everyone's head hit the table. So the next page I would look at is the page 6, the balance sheet. So these are the governmental funds. And again, the governmental funds are kind of the core funds outside of the utilities. The main fund is the general fund. And there's a special revenue fund, which is a major fund. That's the library fund. It has its own segregated fund and is accounted for that way. The debt service fund, that accumulates resources to pay for general obligation debt that is funded through general fund levy activities. And then you have the capital projects fund, which is just that. Those are resources to be used for capital projects, again, on the general fund side. And then non-major funds, those are presented in one column. There is supplemental information at the very end, which we wouldn't look at right now, but that details that out. So this is also put together on the modified accrual basis, which is short-term, a year or less. So you're not going to see things on here like capital assets, depreciation, long-term debt. This is truly what the records are reflected on in the trial balances and in the reports that you're seeing in your monthly, meetings. Page 7, that is a required reconciliation between page 4 and page 6. So that goes right from the full accrual statements. It's telling you, it's taking the fund balances from the previous page. It's showing what gets added on to get to those full accrual statements. And again, those are things like capital assets, leases are on there, special assessments, the retirement system, long-term debt, and then compensated absences. Page 8, if you can go to page 8. So that's the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. So that's the general fund, and that's really kind of the operations for the year. Obviously, it starts with revenues. It's split up by fund. A key fund here is the general fund. So the general fund did have a positive change in fund balance this last year. Now, some of that was aided with debt issuance to provide some financing for some of those expenditures. Outside of that, prior to other financing resources, the general fund was in the negative by $229,000. And as you'll see later, the general fund planned budget was even at a deficit. So it was kind of planned that way. And
Wait
again,
a minute, you're saying that it was planned to be in a deficit?
yes. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's not typically what we see. Again,
So
we're
can you
auditing
explain that
these.
a little
Yeah,
bit?
I can explain that it was budgeted negatively.
Okay,
Um,
I want the public to be able to hear
and
that.
just, I want to clarify, we're the auditors. We review these statements. They aren't ours. I'm just reporting. So just to be clear on that point too.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So that's how it shook out, and that has been a trend of negative revenues in relation to expenditures in the general fund. And that's been going on really since 2021. Which we presented before. This, again, is not news, but, you know, I'm just going to be transparent with what we've seen and reported on. So, yeah.
Okay, Can we hold comments from the audience, please?
I'll try.
Oh.
I will.
Okay. Thank you.
So the other funds here, the library fund, as you can see, it about breaks even, which is probably about what you would expect for a lot of these funds, is to break even or maybe show a little bit of a positive aspect to them. So page 9, that is the reconciliation of that last statement, which was the modified accrual profit and loss statement, if you will, to the statement of activities.
I think if you push those two right arrows and then go to presentation mode, I think that'll, see those two right arrows on the top?
I do, but then I won't be able to rotate the
Okay, I'm just
pages,
trying to
because
see if
then I
we can
have
get
to,
bigger. Okay,
yeah, we tried that earlier.
sorry.
Nope, no worries. And actually, I can make this bigger. I think that's everything, yep.
So Lucy, maybe we go back to page 8, because I'm just gonna cut
Nope.
right to it. I think a lot of people are probably more concerned with the general fund and why it got to be where it was, or what's driving that. Am I on point with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't speak for the whole board, but I personally am, yes. Do other board members have an opinion on that?
We went through it on that call we were at, so.
Okay. I wasn't able to attend that since we had a day's notice, so.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, part of what's driving that is the current year, the general government line, and I know that's probably hard to see there, 518,783. Now that is up slightly from 2023, which was 483,190. So what's driving that up? The legal expense was up, and that was a big driver of that category. It was up from 50,000 to 80,000, and that is sitting within that 518,000. A real big reason is the next line, the public safety line. That went from
Here we are. Sorry, took me a minute.
That
Right
went
here.
from 663,000, and I'm just rounding these numbers, to 774,000. A big driver of that was the cost for EMS was up 47,000, 24 compared to 23. During the year, you went through a rate case with the PSC. They mandate a hydrant rental that is charged to the general fund from the water utility. That hydrant rental went up by 65,000, effective with the 5/1/24 rate case. Okay. And then additionally, the Dane County Sheriff costs were up 27,000. So that drove that line item up over 100,000. Okay, that's a big driver. The Public Works, that didn't go up much. That went up from 313,000 in 2023 to 327,000 in 2024. Conservation and development. A big item in there is there are some developer incentives that are being paid out for the vineyard, I believe, and then I can't remember the other one, but they've been larger, and they're all per tax agreements. They're all per signed agreements that the village board approved, but those are big payouts. Now, they're reflected in the taxes, but they're paid out. And I believe, Lucy, 2025 was the last payment of, I think, the larger one, right?
Yes,
Yep,
for the
The
vineyard.
vineyard.
Yeah. So that was almost 200.
217,000,
Yep,
I
that's
believe,
about right.
is what we paid this year.
So that, I mean, to me, the good news is that's done after 2025. That's a pretty big hit. And going forward, that will help the general fund you know, that won't be going out as an expenditure. So those were the big expenditure items that were really driving things. They just outstripped the revenues, to be honest with you. I mean, it was simply that when we look at it.
And that was the extra $200,000 loan that we took out last year. So like when you said our budget was more than what we were coming in, but that's because we knew we were taking that $200,000 loan.
The 200,000 came in to add to fund balance and pay for things. Yeah,
Correct.
it made it positive. The loan did. It
Correct.
filled in with the revenues. Yes.
In the capital projects fund,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much not much in there, correct?
No, it's negative. It's in a deficit position. It needs to be, you know,
I just,
yep, filled in.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Any questions before I move on to that?
So without doing the loan, the general fund is clearly in a deficit. So how is this remedied going forward?
I think you're going to have to bring in more resources to bring that up to speed to pay for past deficits.
And it's been deficits for the past 4 years, correct? Since 21?
2022, I want to say.
Yeah.
Between 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, going into 22, there was a positive fund balance of 213,000. There was an adjustment made in 22 because there were some issues with payroll taxes. So really that knocked it down to 140,000. And then it ended the year just slightly negative at the end of 22, a negative balance of 5,411. Last year, the deficit was 256,000 in the general fund. So those 2 years really were not helpful. Okay.
And Eric, I actually have one question for you.
Yeah.
And was that deficit with the $200,000 loan?
I'm
Or
sorry,
it's
those
separate, those are
deficits were for
separate.
22 and 23 respectively. There
Okay,
were no
gotcha.
loans taken out those years.
Got it.
So I mean, that's just a situation where the expenditures are just simply under the revenues. I can't put it any more succinctly than that. Again, we come in and audit, we look at it, we put it together, we run tests, we verify things. We're not responsible for the management of that. That's how it shook out. And that, you know, that is all prior to Lucy coming in at the end of December of, was it mid-December?
December 18th.
Yeah. So really, I mean, I think, you know, in fairness, Lucy was really kind of helping us get through this audit and just really kind of go through what happened for the year.
Are you able to verify, since this is above my head, are you able to verify if there is money set aside for the LBK Park as it was supposed to be?
So that is one thing that came up after our meeting in July. That was brought up. I look back to 2021. So again, we started in 22. There was nothing, and I think it goes back even before then, right? No, to answer your question, until that was brought up, it had never been on our radar or even the prior auditor's radar. But we're making corrections, and that's partly why this is final. So.
And I will, when we get to LBK Park, I'll have a number for you. So working with one of Eric's partners, I went and gathered all of the park impact fees for 2024. We are, they prepare journal entries for us because that year's technically closed, so that's the proper way to do it. And that total, when all the journal entries come, will be done. I have that number for you. And then everything 2025, January 1st, 2025 going forward has been put into a restricted fund for park impact fees.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, good question. And that was new information, and we're making the proper adjustments for that. Any other questions before I move on to the utilities? All right. So the utilities are on page 10.
And I just want to make a distinction here
Yeah.
that the general fund is our taxpayers. The utilities are our ratepayers.
Yes.
So this is the people, so your taxes don't go towards paying water, sewer, or stormwater. That's the ratepayers, that's your water bill, your water bill. I mean, we call it water bill, but it's water, sewer, and stormwater.
So utilities are meant to be self-sustaining, self-supporting through rates and user charges, to your point. And then the tax, yeah, the only other thing that would be on the tax that isn't really the taxpayer would be assessments for TID districts, which is carved out with increment valuations. So the balance sheet is pretty strong. I mean, I think you're in pretty good shape. The water utility has a little less cash than the sewer utility. Sewer utility does have some cash reserves built up. There are restricted cash and investments for debt service payments, and then also for critical equipment in the utilities, specifically the sewer utility. And then you've got, accounts payable on the other side, liabilities, deferred inflows, accounts payable. You'll see the water utility has a higher one, finishing off that well number 3 project. Some of that is in there. I guess if we go construction in progress, there's a large one there, 5,000 or 5 million rather. Yeah, I'm off a decimal. 5 million. That is the well number 3 project, which had been building up, and loans were taken out to finance that. It's obviously a very big project, and it did necessitate a water rate case and a subsequent rate change effective last May of 24.
Eric, is construction in progress, is that under the liabilities?
That's under the assets and deferred outflows of
Assets, okay.
resources, specifically the non-current assets.
Structure, oh,
about
here we
halfway
go,
down.
right here. I just
Yeah.
want to be able to point to.
So those costs are accumulating. They're not in service, so there's no depreciation being taken on them until they are in service. So they are in that category. On the other side of the balance sheet, under liabilities, long-term obligations, those are your long-term debt, and they're all capital related to finance utility plant.
Right down here.
So that's the balance sheet. Moving forward to page 11. Page 11 is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So that's similar to your P&L statement. That's revenues and expenses for the year. Shows operating income and loss about halfway down. As you can see, the water utility had a really healthy operating income. The rate case obviously helped with that. Should be about halfway down, Lucy.
Halfway down.
Right above the bold non-operating
Right here,
income.
total
Yep.
operating expense.
Yep.
Oh, right here.
Yep.
Gotcha, thank you. This line?
The sewer utility is showing an operating loss, which that should be positive, or even, it should be closer to break even or positive. So I don't believe the sewer rates, and I forget, I think this is brought up at the meeting. It's been a few years, I think, since sewer rates have been adjusted, but costs, like most things, have gone up. So that is probably something to look at. However, I thought, was there a larger capital project that was going to hit the sewer?
There is some projects,
Okay,
some work that
okay.
needs to be done in the future.
Nonetheless, I would just recommend looking at those rates to make sure you're keeping up and making sure that that is self-sustaining. It still has adequate resources, but, you know, you don't want to start depleting those.
For the change in net position, negative 197,000,
Mm-hmm.
is that the number you're referring to?
I was referring to, it's above a little bit in the same column, the 189, 144.
It's the line right above the non-operating.
It's a
income.
operating
Okay.
income
That is-
and then bracket loss after the title. It's about halfway down.
So do we have a reason for that? Is there a reason for that big of a
The
loss?
revenues have not kept up with the expenses.
That's it, despite the increases?
There was only increase to water,
Yeah,
not sewer.
there were no increases to the sewer rates. Any other questions on that?
But combined, the water, sewer, all that is in the 160 as an operating, right? Total, water.
Total.
Okay.
Total. I mean, and then the stormwater's in there too. I mean, the stormwater is at a slight loss. Yeah, in total, and that's all the utilities. But the sewer utility itself should be having rates that
It's
do
just the
capture.
balance of which. okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they are meant to be self-sustaining. And again, the water utility is regulated. You know, outside of a simplified rate case, you can't just go and do that without a full-blown rate case. Whereas the sewer utility would allow you through, you know, your utilities commission is probably where that would start. You could change those rates. You don't need to go before the PSC for that. So. And it sounds like you've been working with Ellers on some of this stuff too.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
I have a feeling that's going to come out with the budgeting that we're doing with Ehlers.
Okay.
I have a feeling that's going to be one of our recommendations from Ehlers coming out
Sure.
of that.
So that'll all probably work hand in hand. But again, just kind of reporting what we've observed and during, you know, tested during our audit. And then the required statement of cash flows, it kind of shows, you know, kind of walks you through. That's on page 12. So you can see that net cash has been provided by operating activities for all the utilities, which is what would be expected. The water utility and the sewer utility, there have been interfund loans out to other funds. And the interfund activity is detailed later in the notes. Cash flows from capital and related financing activities. There's large costs in the water for the well number 3 project. There's debt proceeds coming in to pay for that. And there is some repayment of some refunded debt, that short-term bridge debt during 24 for the water utility until you got the permanent state of Wisconsin financing. So that's the statement of cash flows. And then the notes. The notes exist to support the amounts in the financial statements. And there's a ton of standard wording in there, and
Oh, this is continued.
This goes down to page 16.
yeah,
Is that what page you're on?
pages 16 through, they go all the way to page 43. So I'm going to just try to do kind of a high level, kind of take you through what I think is maybe the more important ones. So Lucy, if you can kind of go to page 28.
28.
So page 28, it's note 5, it details the long-term obligations. And this is really a summary of the long-term debt for both governmental activities and the business type activities, which are the utilities. And it shows you kind of where you started the year, what was added in terms of new debt, and what was paid in terms of principal payments. Another line in here are compensated absences, which are considered a long-term obligation. So those are things like vacation and PTO for employees. I think of particular instance of importance, rather, if you go to page 30, Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
So your legal debt limit. I mean, you're at about 24%. In that middle of the page there. So your margin on indebtedness. So general obligation debt is limited to 5% of equalized valuation, which leaves the village at the end of 24 with 11 million of debt capacity for borrowing. So I think, the benchmarks for that, I mean, I've seen it as low as like 15%. I've seen some communities that carry a 60% debt. So sitting at 25%, I think is good. It allows the village the capacity to borrow for capital projects and for, if you need cash flow to make up for these deficits. So that's a pretty key disclosure in my opinion right there. Other notes. If you go to page 42. 42, note 12. It shows commitments and contingencies. So this is where the future commitments on those developer agreements are disclosed. So as you can see on that first paragraph there, or maybe you can't see, there's an unpaid commitment relative to the vineyards at Cambridge. So, I mean, there was a total commitment of just over $1,050,000. And at the end of 24, you were down to the $207,669. So again, I just highlight that commitment is a pretty big commitment on the general fund side. So that is going to be paid off. And then there's another commitment for Cambridge Distilling Properties. And that commitment at the end of 24 was $213,000. And then on page 43, the At Home Again Cambridge LLC commitment, that is within a TID district. And I recall, at the meeting a couple weeks ago that was kind of an inactive phase, I believe, and that may not be much of a commitment. But this commitment is only as good as generating the revenue to pay for it. So it's kind of, if it generates revenue, there's a commitment. If it doesn't, there's no commitment. And that's within a TID district. And then note 14 there, that's a required disclosure of deficit fund balances. So the fund balances that are in a deficit position are the general fund, the debt service fund, just really tied in with the general fund, and then the capital projects fund. Some of the other non-major funds that have deficit balances are shown as well. TID number 6, I think that's a newer TID, and it's not that uncommon for those newer TIDs to be in a deficit position. But those are required disclosures.
Where it says on the bottom, the village expects to recover these deficits through future incremental taxes levied and intergovernmental aid revenues.
Yeah.
Where did that statement come from?
I think that's just been something that is typically where those get recovered. I mean, that's, how are we going to make these right? And, in all actuality, it may take some borrowing, honestly, to provide resources for that. So. So Lucy, if you go to page 44, this is the budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund. And so this is just that. It is the budget to actual. There were no amendments to the budget, so the original and the final are the same. But if you can see, bottom line, net change in fund balances, third to last line in the budget columns, there was a planned deficit of $308,409. Again, we just come in and audit it. That's not anything we suggest or we're in on the front end of, but that is just what it is. So actually, the actual amounts actually were positive in comparison to that budget projection. Yeah, the debt proceeds helped out, but even outside of that, they were positive to the picture that was kind of being painted with the budget. So those were really the things that I wanted to present. There's a lot there. Cambridge has a lot of different funds and a lot of different activities. So
Do you have recommendations on, excuse me, on how to balance these funds? I know we talked a little bit about it in our meeting the Zoom meeting we had.
sure, I mean, a recommendation, I don't really have a recommendation, maybe more an observation. It feels like it took a few years to get there, okay? With things were planned out how they were planned out. Again, we just report on them. But it feels like either you're gonna have to take out some debt, or you're gonna have to go through a referendum and increase taxes over and above the levy limit. I'm really not aware of much else in the general fund. You can look at fee schedules and things like that, things that you're charging. You can look at the underlying expense allocations. Perhaps the prior administrator was allocating more to the general fund, than was necessary. That's not what we got when we made those inquiries, but I mean, those are my suggestions. And I think they kind of line up with the things we talked about. So levy limits are hard when the expenses outstrip the revenues, because the state aids and the big things and the taxes, that's subject to a levy limit. It's really hard to raise the revenue part of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyone have any questions for Eric or any comments? Any further comments?
I think like we talked about, there was some short-term funding that kind of helped close the balance, but really looking at the big picture, kind of high level, even in the future, that would have to be every little while. It would have to be, kind of incremental. There's no money in the capital improvement fund, and anything like that. For long-term budgeting or planning, it just doesn't.
Structurally, as I understand it, the budget just doesn't support getting away from that, right? The revenues, primarily the taxes, I mean, there isn't much else that you realistically could control. I know you can look at fees and things, but that only gets you so far. The things that are being expensed and paid for in the general fund, can they be supported with the current, revenues, really, I think is the question you're looking at from a structural standpoint and going forward. And you're not the only community that faces this. Of several clients, the levy limits are good for keeping taxes down, but this can happen as a result of those two.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for Eric? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
if there are any questions, obviously, that come up, please reach out to Lucy or me. Be happy to answer them.
All right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yep, I'm just going to push this back.
I'll wait until Lucy gets a chance to sit back down, and then we'll move on to item 8B.
I'm fired myself from being Vanna.
No more Vanna needed.
No
Thank you.
more Vanna. Thank you, Eric.
All right, so item 8B, budget borrowing for public safety, equipment, personnel, and operations. So who has information on this item?
I do.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. So myself and President Bernini, he was the one that asked me to add that to the agenda. What I can tell you behind the scenes, just with the fire and EMS increase and whatnot, I was in the very preliminary, the board did not give me action, but just looking into the local financial institutions to get rates and just do some preliminary work, but that was a much lower amount based on 2025. Since going over the audit, we believe that it is there's a greater need to get us in the black. And so I actually had a meeting this morning with Ellers for something totally different, but I brought this up, and basically they said that what I'm hoping is that we can work with them on a financing plan. I don't have an exact number, one that I don't even want to toss out a number right now, but we're talking a large amount of money, and so I was instructed that it's not best to just go to the local banks to shop the market, and Ellers will assist in that and help us find what would be the best over a longer period of time, so that it's not only impacting our current taxpayers and the community today, that it'll be spread out, and that also part of all of this is doing having a capital improvement plan and planning and not just being reactive. And I think all these tools and that Ellers will be assisting us with, including the budget and long-term planning, as well as borrowing, so that we can wipe the slate clean and move forward. And because by going into the budget this year and just wiping lines clear, that you can't just wipe sidewalk replacement clear and expect, it's not realistic.
Yep.
We know that there's going to need to be some funds there, and so that's kind of the situation we're in. We are working on a very bare bones budget where many items were slashed or wiped out, and it's not realistic. And I can tell you from a staff point of view, we are not, there's no discretionary spending, anything like, even just with the heat. Now, many larger municipalities have funds to buy Gatorade for their employees that have to work out in the field. I'm doing that myself. We are doing everything we can to pinch and make what we have work. That is, from my opinion, I have not been here long, but that's not what got us here. It's not staff, it's not the supplies, it's the larger projects, and just not planning ahead. And then being reactive and trying to put a Band-Aid on this and a Band-Aid on this, and it kind of accumulated to this.
Yeah, I think in years past there may have been things that were more capital project in nature that we could have gone out and borrowed for, which we should have gone out and borrowed for, and instead what we did is paid for it out of the general fund. And I think that's part of what probably has contributed to us getting to this point. And then of course fire and EMS is a huge expense that has really taken us underwater over the last few years.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. All right. So do you need this board to do any action for you to work with Ellers?
I would like, if the board approves, for someone to make a motion to work with Ellers on a financing plan. Again, there is not a set amount of years. They will meet with us. They will come to whether it's audit and financing committee meeting or the board as a whole, meeting to go over benefits, for certain things and to help educate all of us on the best approach. From when I talked to Brian today, there's several different ways to go about this.
Good. Ehlers has done so well for us as our financial partner. I don't think we have leveraged them as much as we should have in the past. So I'm really excited that we're using them in the way that
Absolutely,
we
I
should
agree.
today. All right, does anyone want to make a motion to work with Ehlers?
Trustee Krecklow will direct Lucy and staff to work with Ehlers on a financing plan and bring that back to the board so that we can review those options and discuss.
Blackwood seconds.
All right, so I've got a motion from trustee Krecklow and a second from trustee Blackwood. Any further discussion?
Got to find out what we got to find out.
I know, I just think at some point, we have to bite the bullet and right-size. We have to start right-sizing. And so I think this is a really good opportunity. And again, I think Ehlers is going to be really helpful in directing us to make sure
Absolutely.
we're doing the right thing.
No commitment, but it gives us options, right? In the past, all we've done is take short-term loans out at other things, and that's it. This is just gives us what other options might be out there. What if we stretch these out, right? So I'd like to understand what that is. I
Absolutely.
think it would be great for everybody to understand.
And
I agree.
they'll look at the market as a whole, and there's all sorts of different contingencies with. They want a copy of our final audit to use, as well as with the planning and back work that they'll need to do to bring their suggestions to us.
Great. Will any of this include discussion on our expenses and how we can reduce expenses versus just borrowing money?
Absolutely, and what I can tell you, just in my short time by looking at expenses, I don't think that that's the issue. I'm trying to continuously work and make sure that we are correctly putting things in the correct account, that we are splitting things so that the village general fund is not paying for things that should be shared between the library, water, sewer, storm, and because there's lots of strategies and work being done every single day to improve that. That's not going to happen overnight. But what I can say about expenses is, while I start to prepare for the budget, every single line will be looked. I will be looking at the history, and I'll also be looking to see what is justified and making sure that I have all that education to give to you guys, so that like for safety reasons or for infrastructure, we have to have that, because I truly don't think there's a lot of space to cut anymore. There really isn't. And just a blanket statement as for salaries and wages for the staff members for the village, they are all under the average of Dane County in municipalities our size. So that is just not a space that we could really, from my point of view, look at. We are lucky to have the personnel that we have.
I agree. All right. So we've got a motion and a second to engage Ehlers in assisting us to create a financial plan. Can I just take a regular vote?
You can, because they
Okay.
have not given a proposal with
Okay.
any
Got
fee at this time,
All right.
and
So
that will be determined in the future.
All right.
And we'll bring that if there is a fee.
great. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right. Motion carries. All right. Board efficiency and committee assignments. Lucy, do you
So,
wanna-
yes, that was, and actually, Sarah, can I let you take the rein on that one?
Sure. Obviously, I'm new to the board, so I don't pretend to have all the answers to anything here. I just feel like for our size municipality, we have a lot of meetings, and I know, Lucy, you have said that before. For our size, we are very meeting-heavy board, and I don't know if anyone else feels that way, or if there's a way we could combine committees. I don't know, just thoughts that I had as I'm getting further into this.
I'm fairly new. There's a lot of time commitment, but there's a lot of business that have to be done from I think I've touched a member or touched one committee over the last year. There's a lot of business that gets done, and if we combined them, there would be longer meetings, I think. I don't disagree. It is pretty hard since we need to have a board member as running that. You know, we ask, you know, other members of the community to bring in that, but it's a pretty heavy commitment by the board. So,
Lucy, do you have any thoughts on this?
What I can tell you is most municipalities our size do meet once a month. And
No, how can we do that and pay the bills?
yes, and I could reach out to, you know, see what their process is for bill paying, as that is a big concern. But I do know, like, I'm just thinking surrounding us, where I previously worked, it was once a month.
that would only eliminate one village board meeting, not the committee meetings. So.
And I kind of like the 2 a month because it gives our constituents more opportunity to engage and understand what we're doing. It allows us to be more current on things. I think meeting only once a month, things would be happening, and I mean, I think government works slow as it is. If we only met month to month, I couldn't imagine getting some things done.
I think it would be hard because we have so many. I'm actually more of the committees. There's a lot of committees. There's a lot of committee assignments. Sometimes there's a lot of things that have to be quickly followed up on. I know last week was really pretty hectic. Having 2 village board meetings allows us to sometimes shift a committee meeting that if we didn't get to that committee didn't meet, and they'll connect up next month. And so at least it gives us some flexibility to keep up with that because we're at the village meeting. And again, that's only going to get rid of 1 meeting. So.
And there are things that we can choose not to, like, part of the reason Audit and Finance hasn't met is because the things we'd be meeting about, I've chosen to bring to the full board. Instead of us having a separate meeting, we just talk about it at the full board meetings.
Well, and I guess my suggestion would be to, I kind of took the lead on this, not to just cut meetings for fun, but last week was a very, very meeting-heavy week, very heavy. And I did not have time to devote to economic development, so I reached out to the chair and the rest of the committee, and everybody was fine with holding that one off a month. So I think that, especially for those regular reoccurring meetings, if there isn't a lot, it's okay to pass on, you know, one and then have a more robust agenda, so we're not making everybody come in for 1 or 2 things. So just be more mindful of that.
And the other thing is some of the, a lot of the committees that we have are because it's in our ordinances.
Yes.
And so if we wanted to change and eliminate some committees, we would need to change our ordinances for that. So we could maybe do a review of, you know, are we following what our ordinances say? You know, where might we have extras, or where might we be able?
I think last week was kind of an anomaly because we had 2 different sets of interviews, and we had, you know, staff interviews, not staff interviews, position interviews, things along those lines. I think committee-wise, typically it's like once a month, you know, for most of them. I feel like personnel has been a little bit heavier just because we've, you know, had some, like I said, we've had some interviews and we've had, you know, some things like that. And I think it's a balance between a 6-hour meeting and a, you know, once a month versus a 2-hour meeting, you know, twice, you know, kind of. So I think we have to balance the time and look at and volume, you know, like Brian said.
I just want to make sure we're being efficient with our time. And I know you are so bogged down right now.
But
so
we will hopefully have a clerk soon, and that clerk will be taking on several committees. So that will be very helpful.
Good.
Because it is too much for one one
Yes,
person to
yes.
keep up with. That we know. And I guess I would just preface, when we start to begin the real budget work, and we'll be meeting to work on that, please just come to me with suggestions if there isn't a lot going on within your other committees, because the budget is going to be a big focus for us. And that is, I really want as much attendance and involvement as I can get from that.
I wish there was an easier way, but we have to hold the meetings in here, public, right? And we're doing the business, and we have to, so it's not like we can go in another room and go do all of our work and then come out and just present. So we have to, and it's timely. So going through employee handbook that hasn't been gone through in 5 years, some of the other things we're trying to, it just takes time. So I would just encourage the rest of the board that we're going to get through it. I think we're getting through a number of things pretty quick, but I think it'll lighten up. So
I'm just really encouraged by this board and all in, you know, the previous time I was on the board and now, you know, this time that I'm on the board. This board seems to really want to work to make things better and to review things that haven't been reviewed for years. And it really seems to be a desire of this board, so I want to congratulate this board on taking that mentality. And yeah, it's going to take time, but I think it's great that we've got a board who's willing to commit to do that.
I would agree.
I would agree, and I think that's why we are playing catch up on things like the employee handbook, and Planning Commission will be going through the fee schedule soon. These things that need to be revisited regularly haven't, and so, but we're going to, going forward, make sure so that we don't have, so it's quicker. Going through the employee handbook, when you don't, you know, wait many years, the process will be a lot quicker and definitely less time consuming, as long as we stay up on everything.
And then there was one change in committee assignments. I'm chair of a lot of committees, and so I had asked Chris if he would take over being chair of the Audit and Finance Committee. And he said he would be willing to take on that role. So I will make a motion to have Paula Hollenbeck step down as chair on Audit and Finance and have Chris Brunig become chair of the Audit and Finance Committee.
I'll second that.
He's good with it?
Yep, he's
Okay.
good with it. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so Hollenbeck made a motion, Blackwood seconded it. All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. All right, that motion carries. All right, item 8D, COWC board member. Ted Cumbier is currently, and Steve Struss are currently our two representatives for the COWC. Again, that is the Cambridge Oakland Wastewater Commission, and that takes care of our sewer. And Ted is going to be stepping down at the end of the year, but COWC is something that would be nice to get something integrated into sooner. So I would like to make a motion to remove Ted Cumbier from the COWC as one of our COWC representatives and add in Matt Hewson, who recently joined the Water and Sewer Committee. So I made that motion. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second.
All right, so Hollenbeck made the motion. Trendle seconded the motion. Any further discussion?
Sounds good.
And Matt said he's willing to do it, and I think it's really good. He's young. He'll give a new perspective onto it, and he happens to be Steve Stansberry's neighbor. So that will work great. All right, so we've got a motion and a second to appoint Matt Hewson to the COWC board or commission board. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. All right, motion carried. All right, that takes us on to old business. The fifth item 9 9A is the 15.60 floodplain regulations ordinance update. What's going on with that?
Just giving you guys an update. I am in the final steps working with the DNR, and I am hoping to have that ordinance updated and brought to you guys for final approval at the next board meeting.
All right, super. Thank you for that update, Lucy. All right, let's go with item 9B, the LBK Park Subcommittee. Who has an update for us from the subcommittee?
Don't know that we haven't met
Oh, are we-
since then. So I think, Lucy, you were just going to update us on what the potential fund
Yes,
availability was, I believe.
So what I can tell you is we now have a park impact fee restricted fund balance. What that means, if for anyone that doesn't understand governmental finance, because it is very, very different from your own personal finance, is restricted funds carry over, and they can only be used for what they are designated for. And not to go too into accounting, but most of the general fund, the budgeted items, most of it, when you set a budget at the end of the year, even if there's money left or if there's a deficit, it kind of wipes clean. And we work off of our budget created by the board. So now that's put in the proper place. At this time, there is $118,288 available. This is from park impact fees. I did go back into 2025, and those journal entries will be coming, and this includes that. 2024, it was $10,668. Anything prior to that, I can't go back because it was, through the audit we're doing is 2024. What I can tell you is, in part of the borrowing, or however we go about it, I do plan, and I feel like the board would be on board with this, that $10,010 is what we receive for donations. Make sure that gets moved in there.
Yes.
And if that is part of our borrowing, or we move things around, make sure that gets in the restricted fund as well to add to that. That is not included with my total.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know there are funds. This is where we're at right now. They will continue to come in when anyone builds a single family home. It is $1,524 of park impact fees.
And the intent of the park impact fees is to maintain our parks.
Yes.
So I know there is work that needs to be done at Veterans Park. I know in the most front forward areas, there's a walkway that goes up to the monuments, and there's like a garden area there. Most of those brooks have started collapsing, and so that's one of the things that I would like to be able to use some of that park impact fee to fix that area, because I think that says a lot, and it is the Veterans Park. We did have to use some funds from the park impact fee to fix in Westside Park, one of the piece of equipment was broken, and we had to replace that, so we had used some park impact fee dollars for that. So there are a number of other parks. So I think what we'd want to take a look at, and again, because it rolls over year to year to year, this is the money that we hold aside to make sure we can maintain those things we put into the parks, that we can make sure we're maintaining them properly. All right, so I don't know if we want to talk about how much money we want the LBK Park to look at spending, up to a certain dollar amount, or...
Well, I think one of the things that, we've heard a lot about, there's a huge interest in pickleball. I know when we met, just as the subcommittee, we talked about putting in like a smaller play area for the, because we had been given those two plans from Lee Recreation. We talked about the smaller of the playground area, which then would allow space for a sports court or something along those lines. I think one of the things that maybe I would like to, kind of in conjunction with this, is to look at either like meeting with CAP, you know, who manages the parks and things like that to see if there is opportunity where we can look at a pickleball court.
What parks do the CAP manage?
The Lake Ripley Park.
Oh, Lake Ripley Park,
Where,
okay.
you know, it's like if they have, if there are tennis courts there and they're, I mean, I don't know, do people play tennis anymore? I don't know. You know, but is there, do we have opportunities to put a pickleball court somewhere aside from LBK, you know, and look at that too? So, because I think we heard a lot about it. And I know when we met a little bit and we talked about pickleball, I think it was questionable whether we could get, I don't know how big the courts are, to be honest with you, so we'd have to look into, you know, that kind of stuff too.
I don't think we could put 4 in that park.
No, not if we were going to add
Yeah, I don't think we
anything
could do
else in
4, correct.
There's also no parking.
the parking.
And
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have the 4
Yeah.
courts and have people, it
Yeah.
would make more sense if to look over at Lake Ripley.
Yep.
So, okay.
So I think we had to also talked about doing that LBK in phases. You know, we'd like to get the first phase of a play structure because there is still young kids in that area. And then with further looking into whether it's, you know, a sports court there and a pickleball court somewhere else, or, you know, something along those lines. But I feel like we have opportunity to do that.
And one thing about using Lee Recreation, and I don't know if the board is aware of this, but Lee Recreation does not charge the Village of Cambridge for their labor. So, I mean, that's huge. And so that's part of why, you know, putting in one of those is really cost effective
Yes.
in a sense for the Village of Cambridge.
So yeah, I think we should.
So I don't know if you want to, because I know you guys were prepared at one of our last meetings
Yeah.
to recommend we go ahead and move forward with that. Are you prepared to act on that today, since we know we do have those dollars available?
I feel like I would be comfortable going in, you know, with the first phase, which is
Okay.
the smaller, the lower dollar value of the play area, and then continue to look at other opportunities for pickleball and, you know, some of the other, and see if, you know, it might be a restructuring of our parks and, you know, amenities that are available.
What was about the cost of that phase 1? Wasn't it around 60?
I want to say it was around, I'd have to go back
I
and look
think
at
it
it.
was like 40 something.
It
I
was,
thought it was 46.
Now,
yeah.
keep in mind that quote was expired, so we will need to get, I mean, unless they keep it, I want to say, didn't it expire at the end of June?
thought it was through
Oh,
the
I
end of
have
the
it.
year, but we'd have to look at it with them, so.
It was $58,062.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So the recommendation would be to move forward with that as a phase 1 for that, and then analyze other park and priorities with that.
Yes. 'Cause
Would that get started soon then, or would it have to be?
The last conversation I think that Public Works had with Lee Recreation was all they needed was the go-ahead, and I thought they said, what, 8 weeks, something to that effect, that they could have it in. So we would have to just make sure that they can still do that for the costs that they put forth, and then get
So
that
if we
going.
move forward, we can get something maybe by towards the fall. Otherwise, if we keep
Yes.
going around, then we'll be in the winter time already.
Right.
So.
I think we need to move forward on something. This
Yes.
has been outstanding for quite
I
a
agree.
while.
I agree.
So, this quote was only effective, and there was a sale that they noted in here until the end of June. So I don't know if we want to, if we're going to make a motion today on it, do we want to do a not to exceed dollar amount and maybe up it, like maybe make it 52,000, or?
So what was the total?
58, right?
I thought it was 50
something.
So the net structure was $40,008.
That was the smaller version,
That was the smaller of the two.
40,000.
But then there's added swings and signs and the spinner and bench and mats and surfacing. Oh, so, sorry, the equipment was $41,562, and then surfacing was $6,500 in the quote that I'm looking at
So
right
what
here.
was the total?
The total was $58,62.
Okay.
Sorry, $48,062.
48,000.
48, yep.
Okay.
And then the other one,
So I would say not to exceed 55,000. That would up it about.
yeah,
seven-
yeah, because the other one was a total of 67,000. So, okay, yeah.
Could we also include in this motion to instruct Lucy or whoever that might be to look at the options for some kind of sports court in there, what it would cost to do, you know, a small pickleball court even, or just so that we can,
See if that,
Put
if,
something
if
else
there's
in
a
there.
space.
Or, yeah,
Yeah.
you guys could talk to Lee Recreation, I know has contacts that do, they know, so we could start with them to see if they can recommend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't think that has to be motioned for us
Okay.
to direct, we could just direct staff to do
Yep.
that as an extra thing.
Got it.
that would be great, thank you.
Okay, so did someone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to move forward with phase 1 of LBK Park play area not to exceed $55,000.
I will second that.
All right, so I've got a motion by trustee Blackwood and a second by trustee Schultz for moving forward to spend $55,000 on a play area for the LBK Park. Any further discussion?
I just want to thank you, Lucy, for all your work on finding the funds.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet.
Glad to see it moving forward, but I'm glad you guys are looking at things and listening to a lot of other input and taking other ideas, because before it was just throw a park in there and that was it, right?
Right.
So we're trying to make sure we get input, so appreciate you guys working on that subcommittee.
Yes, thank you. All right, I've got a motion and a second.
call.
Let's do roll call, please.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Krecklow,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes,
Blackwood,
Yes.
Bruning. I'm sorry, Bruning's not here. Trendle.
Yes.
My bad.
All right, motion carries.
Okay.
All
Good,
right,
good.
super. Thank you. Let me go back to my thing. All right, so that brings us then to the welcome sign, welcome to Cambridge sign. What date do we have on that?
Oh, gosh.
Oh my gosh, this has been
my
such a saga for years.
favorite agenda item ever. I got an email today, and he had to move the easement, but it should be good to go. Let me just take a look here. Here's Dan. Okay, and thank you, Cody, because Cody took a look at it too. Okay, so it looks like the survey is ready, ready to go. It was supposed to be done by last week Friday. They had a little bit more work to do. Our Public Works Department worked with the surveyor, so it should be good to go. I just need to sign off on this and then send it to Stafford Rosenbaum.
Great.
So between Jane and Kieran, so they can draft up the official easement and we can get it in there. And my goal is it needs to be in there by fall at the very latest.
Have we given the people who we bought the signs from the heads up that we're going to be looking for them to install them by fall?
No.
I think we probably
Yes.
should.
Yes.
That we are finally ready to have them
Absolutely.
install, and that we'd be looking at having them do that in an August, September timeframe.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the welcome sign? All right. Then that brings us to correspondence. I didn't see any correspondence in the packet. So I think we're good there. All right. Then this brings us to public comment item number 3. 3 minutes for anyone who wants to make a public comment. Anyone? Please state your name and your address.
Tim Scott, I live in the town of Oakland. I'm just doing a quick follow-up on the earlier pickleball comments, and I'm basing these comments and your comments during the meeting. First of all, I appreciate you looking at that, and I appreciate you see the popularity of pickleball and the need for it. It's the fastest growing sport in the world. It's going to be in the Olympics soon. Our email list, just to use those 2 repurposed tennis courts for a couple hours every morning, is over 50 people. And that's just Cambridge and vicinity. We do have people that come play from Oconomowoc, Marshall, they come down. We've got a group in Deerfield that no longer come during the summer because they've got nice dedicated pickleball courts. But in the winter when we play in the old school, they join us as well. And we have easily, I could, without overstating anything, at least 12 to 20 players every morning down there. So they will get used immediately. And the caution I'd like to address is that, I hear talk about, well, just get 1 court in or maybe a couple of courts. Well, anything is better than nothing. It probably isn't money as well spent as if you go for a facility that's going to grow and spend the money once. A tournament alone requires at least 4 courts, and that'll bring 60 people in for a day, and they'll be hungry and thirsty and whatnot. I am not necessarily convinced that Linda Begley-Korth Park is the best place for this either. I think the Foundation Park makes sense, but I also know in preliminary discussions with the Foundation that they're not going to be able to do it alone either. And I think if everybody works together, this could fairly easily be solved. And I just want to make sure that you guys aren't going to go make any arbitrary decisions about what we need for pickleball courts and whatnot without the input of the people who play, to avoid any mistakes. And that's it. And I want to reiterate what Roy says. Cambridge is looking fantastic, and I feel like it is truly becoming revitalized, and I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, anybody else have a public comment?
I have a question. LBK Park, where does the name come from? Is that?
Linda Begley-Korth Park.
Say again?
It was named after Linda Begley-Korth.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Linda Begley-Korth was fundamental in getting the vineyard development in and in place. And so when Bill Rangat and his folks went to dedicate that park, they chose to name it after Linda.
Might I suggest that LBK is pretty anonymous and using her full name, or at least the Korth name?
I believe the sign does have her full name on it. So, and we just, we just abbreviate it. But yes, Linda Begley-Korth Park. We can start doing that here. At least mentioning her name in full at least once during the conversations. That's a good suggestion. Thank you. All right, anything else, anyone? All right, so that's it for public comment. So this takes us to item number 12, questions, referrals to staff or for future agenda items. We've got our fireworks ordinance that we'll be bringing up. Anything else?
We need third quarter payment for Fire and EMS Commission. I thought that was supposed to be on tonight.
We have not received it.
We haven't received the assessment? The third quarter? Okay.
All right. So we got that. Anything else? All right. Upcoming meetings, July 23rd, tomorrow night, Fire and EMS Commission, August 11th, Plan Commission, August 12th, Village Board, August 13th, Library Board, August 19th, Water Sewer Committee, August 20th, Library Board Budget Committee, August 26th, Economic Development Committee, August 26th, another Village Board meeting. All right. Any other meetings that I forgot to mention that anyone knows of? All right, then let's go to item 14, which is to convene into a closed session. Anyone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to convene into closed session per 19.851 Charlie of the Wisconsin statutes to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of village employees, Public Works Director position, and Clerk Deputy Treasurer position.
I will second. So trustee Blackwood made the motion, trustee Hollenbeck seconded it. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Krecklow,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Trendle,
Yes.
Blackwood.
Yes.
All right,
Should we take 5?
excellent. All right, we're going to take 5